think after the first energy crisis, we have announced in Europe, and not only in Europe, I think the end of industrial era, and we were just shifting everything towards services, and so we just made a lot of mistakes. We didn't have a sort of long-term thinking. Now I think we are too slow in rebalancing the whole thing.
We let the market do the job, and the market did not direct the resources in the most innovative, growth-enhancing sectors or towards some employment-friendly innovation. They just bet on real estate, and this took a lot of people out of secondary education, and now we have the problems.
We see that our European factories are still able, despite all the raises on cost elements like gas, energy, in some countries labor, just because of the productivity programs we are really able to maintain or even improve our competitiveness here, whereas we see fast losing competitiveness of Far East factories.
The availability of energy, the secure availability of energy, and its availability at a competitive price is going to be extremely important to any industry, whether it's Philips or US Steel Košice or any light, medium, or heavy industry. It's a very important economic factor in the decision.
We are back thinking of reindustrialization, but much more broadly, not only the structural change and the new patterns and the new competitiveness, but also about just having a stronger role for industry in driving the growth and competitiveness of European economies, in creating jobs that we have lost. And so it's like changing the role of industry in European landscape, which goes more broadly.
Industrial policy remains a national competence. Certainly in my own experience in the food industry, we lost a lot of investment to Central and Eastern Europe in the run-up to 2004. And I think now with the openings, some of which will work with to the Eastern partners and to Euromed, I think there's a danger that things could shift even further afield. We can take nothing for granted, and if a company decides it's going to put new investment elsewhere, there's very little that we can do to stop it.
I think we should not be afraid to go back and consider sectoral policy to bridge our gaps with the rest of the world in terms of innovation. For doing this, clearly, the European Union is in a better position than member states. We have to find ways to make a sectoral policy compatible with competition policy, and I think it's not impossible.
I'm not sure that many countries actually produce the education that fits people for the outside world when they finally leave education. For example, there are 5-6 million youth unemployed at the moment, yet there are nearly 4 million vacancies, and by 2015 we expect there will be 700,000 vacancies in ICT alone, because we just don't have the people trained for that sort of work.
In science, technology, engineering, and math, we are desperately short of those skills and people with those skills. And what we have done is both here and in Europe and in the US, is we have set up relationships with trade schools, we have set up relationships with universities, and we've set up relationships with other organizations that allow us to actually, we attack it really from two different ways. On the younger level, we have very strong summer intern programs and summer co-op programs.
If we look at research, or the real research work of universities and what we as industry need, these are the orbits that they don't cut each other. We live in separate worlds, as so far. I think that's the great weakness of whole Europe, that we spend so much money on science, whereas there is no deployment from that into real projects that are implemented and turned into a commercial success.
I think we'll probably have to wrap up at this point, and I'd like to thank the panelists very much for taking part in the discussion, and to the audience for helping us with that. Thank you very much.